This is lesson 1.6 for pre-algebra. It is titled Subtracting Integers. Make sure you have that title in your notebook. First, we're going to talk about using tiles to subtract integers. Now, if you like the tile method, it's totally fine. You can use it. Or you can use your foldable. I do not care whatsoever. So use tiles to find each difference. So -7 just means I'm going to make 7 negative tiles, and remember they have to be red, and minus 2 negatives. So I'm going to minus off 2 negatives, which makes, I think I counted wrong, yep, which means now I have -5 as my answer is what's left. So here's letter B. I have -4, so I'm going to start with 4 negatives, and I'm going to minus 3 negatives. So I'm going to minus 3 of these off, and then I'm left with -1. This is -8, so now I'm going to have 8 negative tiles, and I'm going to minus 5 of them. So now I have -3 as my answer. Next, you can use zero pairs to subtract integers. It's kind of confusing if you don't like the tiles. Look up here, you can tell. But let's just try these problems without tiles and just use our foldable. So we have 4 minus 8. So what you can do is you can add a negative. So that means 4 plus -8. So that's 2 separate operations. It's a positive and a negative. So that means I subtract 8 minus 4 is 4, and I keep the sign of the larger number. This is what I just like to do. Now, I have -1 plus -5. I'm going to change them all to adding the opposite. So a negative plus a negative means I'm going to add the two numbers together and keep the sign. This is, now, if I have -2 minus a -7, 2 negatives make a positive, so I just make it one positive, so it's -2 plus 7, so that is 5, and I keep the sign of the larger number, which is 7. So subtracting integers, you've already written in your foldable. It's the third flap, so if you already have it down, don't worry. I just wanted to reiterate it and show you some more examples if you need them to put in there. And then our third example is real-world problem solving. In January 1916, the temperature in Browning, Montana dropped 100 degrees overnight. The initial temperature was 44 degrees. What was the final temperature? So as you can see here, I changed it to adding the opposite, so adding negative. So it's a positive and a negative, so it means I subtract, and I keep the sign of the larger number, so it's -56. So try these 4 examples, and then push pause, and then come back and we'll go over them. So first, letter A, I have 32 minus -3. So I'm going to turn these both into positive because 2 negatives make a positive, and I get 35 as an answer. This, I'm going to add the opposite. So I have 2 negatives. 2 negatives make a negative, and I just add them together to get -106. This, I'm going to add the opposite. This is a positive plus a negative, so I subtract, and I keep the sign of the larger number, which is 46, or negative. The lowest temperature ever recorded on the moon was about -170 degrees Celsius. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Antarctica was -89. Find the difference. There's the key word, find the difference. That means I'm going to subtract the two numbers. So I subtract, which 2 negatives make a positive, which means I subtract these 2 numbers and get 81, and I keep the sign of the larger number, which is 170. That is it for your notes. Come to class tomorrow and be ready to learn.